Hello, wonderful students. How are you doing today? Hope you are doing good. Today, we'll be looking at memorandum in business studies. But before we go to the topic of today, we want to remind ourselves of what we treated in the last topic. We treated erasing techniques, and we talked about that erasing techniques are ways by which we'll make corrections on errors made. Meanwhile, the types of erasing techniques that we discuss include number one, the use of Tipex, and number two, the use of correction papers, and number three, the use of eraser. Today, we'll be looking at memorandum. Memorandum is the topic, and at the end of the lesson, the student should be able to explain the meaning of memorandum, to list the purpose of memorandum, to state the special features of memorandum, and to mention ways of addressing letters. What is memorandum? Memorandum is a Latin word that is gotten that means remembered. The short form of memorandum is memo. And this is sending of message from one person to another in an organization, or from the management to the members of staff in an organization. Whenever there is need for information, to be passed across to an individual or to so many people, memorandum is being used in an office setting. Why do we use memorandum? That is the purpose of memorandum. Number one, we use memorandum to make reports on an action. In organizations, there are so many issues that occurs, and everything that happens in business settings needed to be reported. You explain everything, how things happened. And memorandum is number one way of getting reports made known to the management. That is number one. Number two, it can be used to raise questions. Management can use memorandum to write to an individual to ask question. What is going on? Why are you coming late? Why should query not be, why should punishment not be melted to you? Then they can ask. They observe that you have been agile, vibrant. Why the sudden change in the mood? Why the sudden change in the action that you put, or the energy that you put to your work? It can even be that an issue arises in the organization. There might be issues between some set of people. And when all this happens, they can use memo to address you as an individual, to ask a question from you. Take for an instance, when a parent reports a situation to the management and it involves one or two persons that needed to say their own part of the story, memo can be used to write the person to ask question. What does the person know about the situation on ground? That is another point number two. Another purpose of memorandum, it can be used to ask for explanation. For somebody that have been coming late to work, and there were memos that have been written concerning that. They can ask, could you please explain why punishment should not be melted against you? Because it has been observed that your attitude of coming late to work is enormous. And the person receiving the letter would write back a reply back to explain what made him to be coming late to work. If the explanations are tenable, then there might not be any punishment. But if the explanations are not tenable, definitely a course of action will be taken in that regard. Another thing that you can use memo for, the majority of people do use it for, as let me say now that as a member of staff, is you use it for permission on line of duty. You as a worker, you are duty bound to come to work at a designated time that you're supposed to resume to work. And when you get to your working place, you're supposed to take up the work as you should. No lapses of any sort. Now, in a situation whereby you will not be available to be on duty on that very day, you just don't neglect your job. You just don't show the attitude, I don't care attitude. You just don't show that anybody can do it. If I'm not there, you tried as much as possible to ask for permission so that when you are being permitted to excuse yourself from duty, there will have been a replacement of somebody that can augment for your job until you are back. Take for an instance, like school setting, in every day, there are periods that teachers teaches the students. And for each period, you as a subject teacher, you are expected to be in the class that your period is being slated for. If you not be in school and you did not take permission, definitely at that period of yours, the students will be making noise. There will be rowdiness in the school and everywhere will be noisy. So to avoid all that, there is need for you to carry along the management so that they can put in place who would stand in for you while you are away. That's why we send memo to the management to ask for permission. But for the fact that you ask for permission does not mean that the permission will be granted unto you. It depends. If what you are taking permission for, what is, the management will grant it. But if what you are taking the permission for, the management looked at it and saw that they cannot afford that you'd go at that point in time, they might not approve it. But one way of using memorandum is to ask for permission on line of duty. What do we mean by on line of duty? When you are supposed to be at work and you will not be available at work, then you take permission to quickly go and do what you intend to do. That is highly and extremely important, not just anything that would show signal of negligence of duty. Then the next one that we will look at is features of memorandum. How does memorandum look? When you're writing the memorandum message, like a form of communication from the management to the member of staff, what are the things that you look at? Number one, there is no salutation and complimentary clause in memorandum. Don't forget, when you're writing letter, there will be dear sir or dear ma. In memorandum, there is no salutation at all. And there is no yours faithfully or yours sincerely or yours in Christ. You know, there is no complimentary clause. There is a format for writing memorandum. Number one, you write to on a line with column in front of it. You go to the next line, you write from. You go to the next line, you write date with column in front of it. And you go to the next line, you write subject. That means the heading of memo is in form of 4-line headings that has to do with to, who you are writing the memo to. From, who is writing the memo. Date, the actual day that you write the memo, or the actual day you wrote the memo. And subject, the heading or the message of the memo that you are about to write. And the heading, the first letter, you mandatorily, it must be in capital letter. And if you choose, you can still type all the headings in capital letter. But the first letter must be in capital letter. That is number one. No salutation, no complimentary clause. No dear sir or dear ma'am, no yours faithfully, neither yours sincerely. That's the number one feature. Number two, you will make your reason for writing the letter known in the first sentence. Why are you writing the letter? Permission to attend my graduation ceremony. Permission to collect my certificate. And so on and so forth. You make the main reason why you are writing the letter known. Then we can now continue to explain further why you will still need the permission. And when you are writing that, you just don't pack everything together. You don't lump everything together. You kind of make it clear by giving spaces to your words. It can be single line spacing, it can be double line spacing. It depends on what you are writing. If you have voluminous message to pass across, then you can use a single line spacing. And if what you are writing will not be up to a page, just for it not to be compressed together, you can use double line spacing. Then another feature that we're going to look at is the bottom of the memo. You know, I told you initially in number one feature that there is no complimentary clause. So at the bottom, instead of writing yours faithfully or yours sincerely, you will write copy. But that copy will be in double C, in open and close brackets. You write copy. Then those that you copied those letters to, you will list out their names. And those that you copied those letters to can also be called recipients. They can be called what? They can also be called recipients. Those that will receive the letter. They are not the owner of the letter. They are not the one you wrote the letter to. Just like you started writing the memo from the beginning, right? Like to. They are not the one that you are writing the letter to, but you are copying them so that they can have idea of what you are writing. So that by the time there is need for management meeting, they would not be novice on the matter. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? So the copy is not for those that you wrote the letter to, that you are like in form of addressing the letter to. No, they are the ones that needed to know about the information as well as the boss in an organization. Then let's look at the example of a memorandum. I told you that the opening of memorandum, there is no salutation. So the format of memorandum is from, to, date, and subject. So the from, in this example, like the school setting that we have from the principal. Then to all students, those are the ones that they are addressing the memo to. Then date is June 12, 2020. And the subject, that is the main reason why the memo is being written, is announcement. The announcement for what? You will now start to read the memo, this is to inform all the students of our procedure school that the second CBT, that is computer-based test, will come up by 5th of July 2020. That is a vital information, which is announcement that has been passed across to who? To all students. From whom? From the principal. On what date? On June 12 June 2020. And what was the subject? Announcement. Then the closing of it is the copy, which is the school proprietor and the school director. Don't forget, the school proprietor is a member of the management, the team of management. The same thing with the school director, is the team of management as well. Then that is example of a memorandum. Let's look at another example of memorandum. Another example which comes from the director now to all members of staff. On what date? On 4th of June 2020. What is the memo all about? The subject of it is schedule of meeting. Schedule of meeting. And the main message there is that this is to inform the entire members of staff of the scheduled meeting slated for 5th of July 2020. The meeting attendance is compulsory for all and sundries. Copy the proprietor. So all members of staff are the ones that the memo is being sent to, while the proprietor as the management is being copied to be aware that the memo has gone out. Are you with me? Okay, so we'll move to the next subtopic, which is types of letter. Types of letter. This week we are going to look at formal letter, which means business letter. Then we have informal letter, which means personal letter in business studies. And we have semi-formal letter. In our next class, we'll be talking fully about everything. But before we end the lesson, let's go to what we have treated today. We treated the topic memorandum. And the memorandum is a word that is gotten from Latin word, which means to remember. And it is sending a message from one person to another, or from the management to the member of staff in an organization. What are the purpose? Why do we use memorandum? We use memorandum to make report of an action. We use memorandum to raise a question. We use memorandum to ask for explanation. We use memorandum for permission on line of duty. And the features of memorandum is divided into three. The first one, note that there is no salutation and complimentary close. No dear sir or dear ma, and no yours faithfully or yours sincerely. Then the format of writing memorandum is from, to, from, date, and subject. Then another feature is you write the body, you write the reason why you are writing the memo in the first instance, and you will not lump it together. You give it line spacing, either single or double line spacing. And the third one is, instead of yours faithfully or yours sincerely, it's going to be copy. Then the example I've been given, you remember that. And the types of letter includes the formal letter, informal letter, and semi-formal letter. We have come to the end of the class. I hope you stay blessed and you stay safe. Have a wonderful day.